You're listening to Demos in the Dark. I'm your host, Demos, the Lord of Terror. Welcome to the dark. Tonight in the dark, a well-known professor and scientist who scoffed at the supernatural decided to investigate someone and found out the hard way what lies in the dark. Tonight's tale, Cliff House.
This is Detective Hector Gutierrez. I've recently been assigned to a case involving several burnt corpses. So far, there's been a serious lack of evidence, which is frustrating to say the least. However, I've recently discovered a video file on a laptop that we recovered from the scene. I'm not allowed to release the video just yet, but my superiors have given me the green light on sharing the audio. I'm hoping someone out there that hears this might know something and come forward. I can promise you protection and anonymity. Please, if you know anything at all, you could be saving lives by sharing it with us. Before I play the audio, I must warn you, this can get pretty graphic. I urge you not to listen with any young ones in the room. Again, anything you may be able to help us with could save a life. These deaths have been grotesque in nature. Please, don't allow these atrocities to continue if you know something. Here's the audio. Audio file 1.
This is Professor Reginald Jackson. I'm leaving this video journal as a warning. I thought I was okay. I thought I'd escaped. I realize now there is no escaping Cliff House. You see, we were doing a study on history of Cliff House. I'm sorry, my mind is all over the place right now. A man came to see me at the university. He offered 5 years of funding for my department if we would investigate a potential investment he had lined up. I thought it an odd request, but then he told me he just needed a comprehensive report on the history of Cliff House, including some field studies. I had put together a team to include 2 of my junior colleagues and 5 students. At first, it was just a lot of digging through archives and documenting historical data, timelines, and that sort of thing. The client expressed a rather enthusiastic interest in any urban legends that may exist about the property. I really wasn't expecting to find much, despite the site's peculiar penchant for catching on fire. When I did find something, I almost dismissed it. I thought better of it, recalling the client's emphasis on being completely thorough. He had specified that I should leave no stone unturned and no detail out. If he had already heard of this particular flight of fancy, he would know that I had not completed my task to the fullest. So I began reading the strange tale from its beginning. To summarize, it told of a ritual that would summon the true spirit of the land on which Cliff House is built. That this spirit would give you a glimpse into the past and reveal the true nature of the land on which Cliff House resides. It also came with a warning, one I deeply regret not taking seriously. It warned that only serious seekers of the truth and believers in the occult should attempt the ritual. It claimed that the lack of faith in the process could cause the ritual to go horribly wrong, and that the spirit does not tolerate non-believers. Of course, I scoffed at this. I am a man of science. The text also claimed that the spirit was an elemental, fire to be precise. That did catch my attention, since there had been multiple fires which have plagued Cliff House. Of course, I locally believe that the fires were what had inspired this tale. How cocky I was. For all my intelligence, I failed to see that the attached parchment, which held the ritual itself, was much older than the documents which held it. The parchment, which also alluded to the fire elemental, was older than the cliff house itself. Men of logic are often blinded by the very rationality that serves them. If something does not fit within the boundaries of known logic, it is illogical and therefore untrue. How wrong I was. Even as a child, I knew that some things in the world defy logic, and some things have no rational explanation. When did I become so pompous? Lord, forgive me. For pride truly comes before the fall. Fall I did. I fell spiraling down into the madness which is truly Cliff House, or at least the land on which it sits. Unfortunately, this is a lesson learned much too late. Cliff House, or rather the spirit which resides there, has managed to sink its claws into me. Once detached, it will never let go. I know this now. I'm sorry, I must keep moving if I'm to finish this before my untimely demise, which now seems imminent.
End audio file 1. Audio file 2.
Sorry about that. Where was I? Oh yes, I must move within an hour, or the entity will claim me. I know I can't run forever, and I've exhausted all attempts to find a solution. My only hope now is that I can complete this journal before the inevitable end arrives. The specter or spirit of the land is malicious. Texts I later procured showed that this spirit was called upon by the indigenous peoples to exact revenge. They were slaughtered before the ritual was complete, leaving this curse isolated to the immediate area under and surrounding Cliff House. I have unwittingly exposed myself and my team to the full severity of this entity's power. I regret I will not have to bear much longer, I'm afraid. One of my students suggested that we attempt the ritual contained in the parchment as part of our field study for the sake of due diligence. Misled by disbelief in such things, I foolishly agreed. We were to complete the first part of the ritual from the beach below the cliff house and just south. When I witnessed the change to the structure, I should have quit the investigation right there and then. My thirst for knowledge would not allow me to retreat. I was driven ever forward by the need for answers and my desire for a rational explanation. Upon completing the first part of the ritual, the structure began growing. While the cliff house has undergone facelifts and even multiple rebuilds, the form it took was easily recognizable. It was quite possibly the grandest appearance that Cliff House has ever held. The gingerbread or Victorian Cliff House of the late 1890s to early 1900s. All 7 stories of it suddenly and ominously loomed over us. Our group, while deathly silent at first, did take long to begin buzzing like a hornet's nest, with theories and hypotheses galore. Even then they struck me as pretentious. The proverbial pot calling the kettle black, I know. But for the sake of honesty, I must now hold nothing back if my warning is to be taken seriously. We made the hike up to the entrance of Cliff House, where we promptly froze, every last one of us. No one was eager to be the first to venture through the doorway. Keep in mind, I don't mean the doorway of the structure you see at Point Lobos today, but the grand entry of the 7-story castle-like structure that burnt down to its very foundation many years ago. I stood cemented in place, for as a fact, based as my mind was, one fact trumped all else. The fact that what I was seeing could not be, and that it left me as scared as a toddler in the dark. Being the leader of this expedition, I knew they were looking to me to lead the way. Although my body fought me every step of the way, I forced myself to maintain a confident appearance as I stepped through the doorway. The entry was grand indeed. Once inside, we bore witness to architecture that can only be described as magnificent, and was in fact that we literally were walking through history. The high ceilings and columns were spectacularly designed. We took photograph after photograph, anxious to document every detail. Eventually, however, someone was bold enough to broach the subject I had been dreading: the second part of the ritual. I knew it was inevitable, but I had attempted to convince myself that we had achieved thus far would be enough. Of course, it was not. Nothing ever is enough for people obsessed with the pursuit of knowledge. We climbed the stairwell floor by floor. Once we reached the top floor, we made our way to the observation tower and ascended further. The observation tower was where the final part of the ritual was to take place. One of the very reasons I found this text questionable, aside from finding the occult to be rubbish, is the fact that the second part of the ritual was to be carried out in the observation tower. An observation tower that hadn't existed in a very long time. It made no mention that the tower, much less the entire structure, would return as it did once the initial part of the ritual was complete. Not that I would have believed it from the start. Here I am now questioning every reality that I have known. All for naught, for the hour groweth far too late. I'm sorry for going on a tangent again. I digress. We started setting up for the completion of the ritual. I became very easy, but once again the thirst for knowledge overshadowed my common sense. That voice in the back of my head that thirsts to protect me was drowned out by the voice of ambition. We were quite possibly on the precipice of the greatest discovery since the beginning of time. Proof of life beyond life, spirits and alternate realities. While this was all too much for my logical mind to comprehend, it was all there waiting to be discovered. Once the final ritual began, things became dark ever so quickly. You could feel the malevolence and hatred like a hand gripping tightly to your soul. My apologies, it's found me once more. I must relocate, continuing this journal, if I'm still alive. And audio file 2. Audio file 3. The portable lights we had set up flickered and flashed before going out entirely. A cool wind gusted through the room, though no windows were open. The only illumination, a pale moonlight creeping through the tower windows, as a sense of panic filled the dark void left by the silence. We awaited a response to the now completed ritual like statues in the dark. After what felt like a small eternity, sound began emanating from everywhere all at once. The sound became clearer, as if they were words. Words being chanted over and over. Words chanted in a language I did not know. I will repeat them the best I can pronunciate here. Usi ara ai koto. Usi ara ai koto. Usi ara ai koto. We witnessed a shape form out of the surface of the nearby wall. It slowly became the shape of a person reaching out towards us. One of my junior colleagues, Joshua, was seized by the feature of the shape as its hand took a firm grip on Joshua's throat. Realizing that Josh was being strangled, we rushed to his aid. His body burst into flames before the nearest of us could reach him. We worked feverishly to extinguish the flames, only to be left with the stench of a burnt corpse. Panic escalated from the feeling to an action as every person in the room fled down to the 7th floor. We ran to the stairwell in an attempt to retreat. We got as far as the landing below the 5th floor when a curtain of fire rose up around a student named Stephen, enveloping him in flames. Unlike Joshua, who had had his windpipe crushed, Joshua, who died without screams and asphyxiated before the fire could finish him, this man was not so lucky. If there is an afterlife, I believe Stephen's screams will follow me there. Unable to reach him before he collapsed, we retreated to the 5th floor. The chanting was relentless as we hastily navigated the halls in search of another exit. Apparitions appeared and disappeared in the hallways, shredding any sense of sanity that may have been left. With only the animal instinct remaining, we crowded through the stairway door, nearly trampling each other in the process. We made it as far as the 2nd floor landing when multiple shapes began forming and stretching out of the walls. One student pushed another into one of these shapes in an attempt to save himself. Unfortunately for him, he missed the shape right behind him and backed right into it. My remaining junior colleague, Thomas, tried to skirt around them and went rolling down the stairs right into another shape which had formed on the landing below. The stairwell. My God, it's back already. And it hasn't even been an hour yet. It's starting to catch up with me quicker now. I'm sorry, if I make it, I'll add more to the journal. If not, then I hope at least this will get something out of this. End. Audio file 3. Audio file 4. Okay. Sorry, just give me a second. Okay, I was in the stairwell. The stairwell quickly filled with smoke as my colleague and 2 of my students burst into flames. My 2 remaining students vaulted the railing down to the 1st floor. The screaming began almost immediately, followed by more smoke. There were flames everywhere in the stairwell, and so I retreated to the 2nd floor. I picked up a chair and smashed a window, then climbed out. Looking behind me, I saw the shape stretching its way out of the wall, its head turned towards me. I knew I was out of options. I closed my eyes and jumped. The pain radiated up through my legs and up through my spine. I crawled at first, unable to stand. Eventually, the sense of urgency generated not enough adrenaline to motivate me back to a standing position. Eventually, walking still came with great difficulty, but I managed something close to a normal pace by the time I reached the car. I looked back at Cliff House to see it entirely engulfed in flames. I climbed inside the vehicle, and after sending the key home, I sparked the engine to life. When I looked up again, the Cliff House had returned to its present-day structure, sans flames. I knew that contacting the authorities would avail me nothing more than a padded room, so I just ran. When I made it back to the hotel we had booked for the trip, I secured my bag from the vehicle and proceeded to the room. My clothes were permeated by the scent of scorched flesh, so I began removing them promptly. My stomach took it upon itself to evacuate whatever contents it held within. I remained in the shower until the hot water ran cold. I staggered towards the bed, only to collapse halfway there. I awoke some hours later with the feeling of being watched. That's when I heard the sound of wallpaper ripping. Although extremely disoriented, I grabbed my duffel bag, exited my room as naked as the day I was born. I took no notice of anyone who may have seen me, and I quickly limped my way back to my car. Speeding out of the parking lot, I checked the rearview mirror, relieved to find nothing more than an empty street. I stopped 3 miles down the road and retrieved some clothes from my duffel. Having finished the task of dressing myself, I pulled the laptop from the bag and powered it up. I stared at the screen for some time, not knowing who I could contact or what I meant to do. That's when I came up with a plan to send a warning to the world by posting my experience. Our demise. Damn it, it's coming quickly again. It's been only 15 minutes this time. It's coming faster and faster now. Won't be long before it simply can't escape. So tired. I think this is the end for me. Please, take me seriously. This isn't legend or myth. This isn't fantasy. This is a serious warning. There are things out there that cannot be defined by science or logic, or even common sense. Some of them can hurt you. Some of them can kill you. The land on which Cliff House resides is tainted. There is a malevolent spirit there that means you harm. If you come across some sort of ancient ritual, don't try it. If you hear rumors or read stories that a potentially dangerous, possibly paranormal threat exists somewhere, do not dismiss it so easily. I learned too late. All that is left for me now is to escape one last time so I can find a place with Wi-Fi and post this. God, please let me make it. End audio file 4. That was the final entry. We retrieved the laptop while investigating a burnt corpse that had been reported outside a Starbucks. Again, if anyone has any information, please come forward. My partner left to investigate Cliff House this morning. I haven't heard from him since. I'm going now to have a look for myself. This is Detective Hector Gutierrez, signing off. Hello everyone, this is Damos. Appreciate you stopping by tonight, and I hope you like the story, Cliff House. Cliff House won't be available until my second book, Welcome Back to the Dark. The first book, Welcome to the Dark, is available in early October. As soon as I have an exact date, I'll put it out there. As always, if you could give me a like, a subscribe, or a share, even a comment, it would mean the world to me. Well, that's all tonight, and I'll see you next time in the dark.